Hey, Gerald here, and I'm going to start creating my Match 3 game engine. But before I get into it, I just want to show you my debug system that I have in place. And I actually use this for most games that I create or are working on. Uh, I made something that I call a debug template, and I use this for various games. I just load it up and it's all set up and ready for me, and then I can just start uh, creating whatever it is that I'm creating. The way it works is all my debug objects are on frame 2, and then I just hide or show that whenever I want by pressing the tab key. So for example, I have it running now, just push tab key and it goes away, push tab key and it comes back again. If you open up the event editor here, you can see I put everything inside of a group called debug, and I created another group inside of that called show activate debug. So upon pressing the tab key, it'll activate this group, and I used the internal flags of this little object that I call debug back, and I just toggle the flag. So when the flag's off, it'll show layer 2. I named it debug, and when flag is on, it'll hide that layer. But it also activates and deactivates this group, so it's not running when it's not visible. I get the first two counters I've already set up because it uses pretty much as default for any game that I'm creating. The first one is the frames per second counter. So obviously this just keeps track of the frames per second. And the other one I call the total objects. And what this does is it keeps track of the total amount of objects on the screen at any given time. But it doesn't work for backdrops. Excuse me. And it won't count any of these objects into the total number. And the reason why is because I've minus those. As you can see here, it won't stay still. I've given them all a qualifier, like all of these have their own qualifier, even this object, and they get subtracted from the total count. So if you run it, you see the total objects is 0. It's just the way I wanted it. Anytime I add an object, better go to the right frame. Anytime I add an object to my frame, the debug system should account for it. See, it's a total 1 object, and that's how many I have there. Just duplicate that and make sure it works okay. So there's 4 there now. It says 4. Okay, that is, one more thing I'll show you before I quit here. I'm going to rename this. So I'm going to save as, and I already got a folder set up, and I'm going to save it as Match 3 Engine, and hit save. Yes. And rename this Match 3 Engine. And that's it. Okay, I will see you in the next part.